Although E3 2012 is over and behind us, we're still decompressing and processing everything that we saw on the show floor. Join Thomas Arnold and myself, Andre Siegers, as we discuss the biggest things we saw and played on the show floor. Because we cover such a wide variety of topics, we split our discussion into different segments for each game. You'll find links for each one in the video description below. Now sit back and relax as we dive into our E3 2012 impressions, which starts right now with our thoughts on Nintendo Land. Hey guys, so we're going to discuss Nintendo Land with, as always, well not as always, but as sometimes, Thomas Arnold from our Canadian office. How's it going, Tom?
Hey, nice to be here.
Alright, then we only have to do that like 8 more times for each of the podcasts we're going to do. So Nintendo Land was a surprise announcement from Nintendo. I don't think anyone saw that coming, or if they did, they kept it under wraps. So Nintendo Land's a bit weird because it's actually, it seems to be, I think, 12 games in one, and all are based on Nintendo franchises. But what's weird is none of those characters from those franchises actually appear in it. Instead, you're playing as Mii's in all these games, dressed as those characters. So the 5 games we played, or that were playable on the show floor, there's only 5 of the 12 available, were Animal Crossing Sweet Day, Donkey Kong's Crash Course, Legend of Zelda Battle Quest, Luigi's Mansion, and Takamara's Ninja Castle. So let's start off with Animal Crossing. What did you think of that one, Tom?
I was pretty intrigued by sort of the guard and fruit thief dynamic in it. Basically, you know, you have to go around to different trees, collect the fruit, and you
I guess we should explain that.
Yeah, we'll explain it.
Yeah, there's 5 people total. One person has a gamepad, and they control 2 guards with a control stick each. And their goal is to snatch the other 4 people who are using Wii remotes playing on the TV. Yeah, and in split screen view.
Yeah, it's pretty tricky being the guard because one of your thumbs, your left thumbstick and the left trigger button is one guard, your control, and then it's the same for the right guard with the right stick and right triggers.
Right, it's basically like the controller split in half, and the left half controls the left guard, right half controls the right guard. And you have to control these 2 characters simultaneously to get the other 4 players before they collect, I think, what, like 50 candy pieces, I think, hidden around the town.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you thought that played pretty well.
Yeah, I thought that might be the. It's since the screen actually scrolls around, I think it'll add a lot to people's replay value of the game when it comes out.
What do you mean scrolls around?
It's not like the Ghost Mansion, where it's just a single screen. This one, it's a bigger play area, maybe about 9 screens worth. And I like the fact, though, that when you're collecting candies, as I said fruit earlier, but the candies, that you go slower, and so the guards can catch up to you, but then you can shake the Wiimote, I believe, to lose some of the candy behind and go faster again.
Maybe shaking worked as well, but I think it was pressing the 1 button to ditch candy. But yeah, that was interesting in that the more candy you collect, the slower you go. It makes you more vulnerable. And so yeah, you can ditch those candies if the guards get close to speed up again. But that means you have to go back and collect those candies again later, probably. I think there was more than 50 pieces of candy per level, so I don't think you had to collect all the candy. Yeah. You had to collect most of it. Now, when you got caught by a guard, unlike Luigi, you don't get knocked out. I mean, you turn transparent for a few seconds, and it gives you a few seconds to get away from the guards, and you run at like super fast speed, and then you come back. But I think the game ends if the guards catch you 3 times. Did you play as both the guards and the people? Or?
I just had the opportunity to play as the guards.
As a guard. Okay, so you just play as the guards. So yeah, what was your take on that? Like how were the controls? Well, first off, what did you think of the controls? Did it take some to get used to for you, or?
Well, With me, it was pretty straightforward. It's not like the guards. It's a pretty tight controls for them. It's not loose at all.
Right.
So I think it just controlled fine. It's just trying to look at one, or trying to control both of them at the same time, use them in tandem to sort of close down on the players.
Yeah, it's strange, but the controls are actually very simple. You know, it's just 2 control sticks and 2 triggers. You know, you move with one and then you tackle with the other. But it's in, you know, controlling 2 characters at the same time, which I can't think of a game that's really done that before.
No, can you imagine Mario? It's like control Mario and Luigi just with jump. And
yeah, that's basically what it is. And so it's really tricky. Like, you have to. Yeah, I found that moving them in tandem, like, you know, basically like trying to move it when you want to go to a different area. Moving them in tandem is the best way to do that. Yeah. But you can't win that way. You have to separate them in order to like surround someone. You know, in order like if they're going around the house, you want to have one guard going around each side of the house to surround them. So yeah, I thought that was definitely an interesting way to play. So did you won like instantly, as I recall, right?
I won in about 5 seconds.
Right. So yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was pretty epic. That was amazing.
I think what happened though is one of the Nintendo representatives went, "Okay, I'll play," and I don't know if they were quite ready yet at the start, so I just did an attack right off the bat.
Right.
Got one of them. And then another person ran off to a corner, and that's when I went around either side with each of my guards and just they had nowhere to run, and I got them.
It's kind of cool in that when you're playing as a guard, you know, again, you're looking at the gamepad, and so no one else can see where you are. Well, they can, I mean, if you get close to them, of course, but when you're playing on the TV, your view is pretty limited. It's very much like Pac-Man Versus, if you guys remember that game from 2003 with the GameCube and GBA. What's cool though is when you're playing on the gamepad, the camera only stays as it only zooms out as far as both your characters are. So if both your guards are close together, you can't really see that much. But if you spread them out, the camera starts zooming out as well, and you can see much more of the map. Of course, when your guards are that far separated, you can't. It's hard to actually capture people because you really need to take them on. Any other thoughts, Tom? Any thoughts on the graphics at all, or the presentation?
Well, I'd say they're actually pretty good for Animal Crossing graphics.
Yeah, they actually had. Yeah, actually, it's strange, but it looks a lot better than the 3DS one, which they didn't show off this year. I don't think, but they showed off last year. And yeah, it has like a very soft, like it almost has like a not quite like a. It almost looks like it's like it was built out of something. You know what I mean? Like it actually looks like this town kind of exists. It has a cool little like Pixar-esque almost look to it. So, yeah, so I guess I don't have anything else to say about Animal Crossing. So I guess let's move on to Donkey Kong's Crash Course, which I think was the one game you didn't try, right, Tom?
That's right. I only saw it one time and got a free pin.
Okay, so this game's a little bit different than the others because it's a 2D. It's basically a platformer. Not really a platformer, but it's a 2D. It's a side-scrolling from a side-scrolling perspective. And on the TV you see a zoomed out. Okay, so the idea is you're playing as I think a me in a cart, and he has to maneuver through this crash course themed to the original Donkey Kong, basically. So there's like girders all over the place, and there's special platforms you can move by pressing either one of the triggers. It will either move them one way or the other by pressing left trigger or right trigger.
Yeah.
And you need to move those in order while you're tilting the gamepad which you're playing on, which causes your car to move side to side. The further you tilt, the faster it goes.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is that you need to maneuver through this level pretty carefully, either going slowly at points or fast at points in order to clear gaps or go downstairs. And if you mess up, your car might flip over, it might break apart. If you run into a wall or get squished between a girder that's moving. And on the gamepad itself, it just shows a zoomed-in view of what you see on the TV.
Okay.
So it really doesn't offer anything that the TV doesn't, except a closer view. And I actually prefer playing on the TV because they give you more context to what's happening. You can see, what's coming up. But on the gamepad, you couldn't. And I actually thought it was probably one of the weaker games to showcase the system, because there was nothing on it you couldn't do on, like, the Wii. I mean, you just tilt the Wii remote and then press a button to move the stuff. The only thing you'd lack is the close-up view.
Well, I found it. That thing is pretty zoomed out in the course. Like, there's a lot of detail there, and a lot of little tracks. Like,
right. So I guess it would be, the thing is, like, I guess at the demo they have big TVs. It's running 720p. You have big TVs, so it's not really an issue. I guess you're playing at home on a small TV could be a problem, and that's when the gamepad might come in handy.
Yeah.
But I think even on the TV, as I recall, I think you could zoom in a little bit. Not a ton, but you could zoom in to help counter that. So yeah, I played it I think twice. I didn't like it that much. I thought it was pretty dull, not terribly inspired. I mean, I guess yeah, it was weird. I didn't have that much fun with it. So,
okay. Is there a time limit that you have to beat, or are you timed?
I don't think there's a time limit. I could be mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think there's a time limit.
What happens if a girder hits you? Do you have health?
No, the health. The way it works is like your car can become squished or just fall apart completely. And so, like, I think you can, like, I think it starts off as like a triangle almost. Like you have 3 wheels, and you can flip around those 3 wheels. But I think you can lose a wheel and move around on 2. I could be mistaken about that again. But basically, it seems to be mostly an all or nothing affair. Like you have to make it through, or you get squished and you have to start over from the checkpoint. There's checkpoints throughout the level that you can restart from. And there's, I think in the demo there were like 3 levels, and I played through them all. And it's a little bit tricky, just maneuvering the tilt and then moving platforms with the triggers. Yeah, that aside, I don't have anything else to say. Do you have any questions about that, Tom?
No, it just definitely looked very different than any of the other Nintendo Land games, but yeah, I mean, I guess one of the weaker ones, unfortunately.
Yep, I would agree with that. Now, one of the not weaker ones, if that makes sense, was Legend of Zelda Battle Quest. And in this game, it's, as far as I can tell, it's only a 3-player game. We only saw it being played with 3 people.
Yeah.
And the way that works is 2 people play on the TV with Wii remotes, and they use and their Wii remote becomes a sword, and it actually plays more similar to, it's kind of like Skyward Sword, and you move it to slash and whatnot, but it actually plays more similar to Wii Sports Resort, with the sword combat game and that, where the motion's actually really fluid. And now the third person plays on the gamepad, and they're an archer. And in order to shoot arrows, they actually like move the gamepad around in real space, kind of like in Steel Diver when you would look it around in periscope view, and then you fire an arrow by just tapping, I think, a face button.
Or Zombie U when you're looking around at the scanner, or they have crossbow too.
Exactly, that's right. So this game's different because it's on rails. You have very little control of your character. They move at a constant rate through the level, unless you're actually engaging in combat or using your shield, which you can use if you're the swordsman.
Yeah.
And then your character will pause. And so that causes some interesting situations because I didn't realize my character was stopping every time I was shooting an arrow. So I felt like I felt like 200 feet behind my teammates, and like I'm like way back. I can't help them at all, and they're just getting like slaughtered by the forces up front.
Jimmy, who was with us, I guess, was doing better than his sword-wielding companions, and he ended up way further ahead of them. And all of a sudden, everyone was attacking him. He's like, "Hey guys, it'll help," but they were too far behind. So, it's one thing about that game is that you can get spread apart, and you have to communicate with each other because you're in the same room, so you can actually talk to each other.
That's true.
Which you're more likely to do with your friends, I think, than people on the show floor at E3.
Yeah, I know it's not a lot of communication happening on the show floor in any of these games, especially games that required it. The only communication came from Nintendo reps who were trying to show off that you can communicate.
Yeah.
So who did you play as both roles, or who did you play as?
I know I played as a sword role for sure. I think I played the crossbow.
Okay.
Or the arrow. Do
you have a preference that you can remember?
I remember liking the sword just because it did remind me of Skyward Sword a lot. I could hold it vertical and it would power up, and I could fling out sort of a little bit of energy. And I liked certain guys had armor around the top for bottom, but they had a weak point down the middle, and they would rotate, so you did have to aim your attacks to kill that enemy.
Right, you had to slash in the right direction. Very much like Skyward Sword. Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool. And it's interesting because they have some very light puzzle segments, and I mean very light, but they are there, and there might be more of them in the final game. They only had 1 level playable, I believe, in this game. But like one of the puzzles is, I think you reach like a locked door, and there's 3 orbs around the room, and each swordsman stands next to one, and then the archer has to hit the 3rd one, which is like way up high, and you have to hit all 3 at the same time. So a very basic puzzle, but it adds a little bit more to it, and maybe there's more down the line. I'm sure there are. And then there was a boss fight too at the end of the demo.
Yeah, but we only had about 1 heart when we went to it.
Yeah,
didn't last long.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I basically don't even remember what the boss was. Do you remember at all?
No, I forgot.
Okay. So something that's not interesting, but I thought the game looked pretty good actually.
They had kind of a fabric look to it, like it
did.
They're sort of, I guess, Moblin equivalent, but they're like skinny pigs.
Yeah.
That kind of look like burlap sacks or texture.
Yeah, a little bit like Little Big Planet, right?
Oh, I didn't think of that yet, but yes. I thought more Kirby's Epic Yarn, same with Nintendo.
Oh, there you go, that's true. Yeah.
Nintendo experimenting with fabric in 3D, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
So do you have anything else to add to that?
I read that some people raved about the graphics, and I don't really understand what they're talking about. They're good, but they weren't super special.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I thought they looked good. They were pretty stylized. It's not mind-blowing. There's something with the presentation that I thought was interesting, though, and that's how the split screen was done. Because it's not split how it normally is, like horizontally or vertically. Instead, the two swordsmen each have like a little bit more than a quarter of the screen, and it's because it's like done in this weird. I can't even describe it. Like, it's like a five-sided. It's like a five-sided portion of the screen. It's like, you know what I'm talking about? It's got the they meet diagonally.
So
I mean, you can watch. You'll see in the videos I'm going to loop through this, but
yeah, that one of the players, his top right corner is on a diagonal, and the other one's bottom left diagonal.
No, I think
bottom left corner.
No, I think it's bottom right and top left.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in the bottom left corner, then the top right corner, I think is your health. Oh, and the health is shared.
Yeah.
I think you get 5 hearts in the demo, and so if anyone takes a hit, it's going to compromise the entire team. But in the bottom left corner, there's a smaller window for the gamepad view for people who are the archer, or yeah, for who's the archer, and you can see them on the TV. Which I don't know if that was necessary or not. You know, I felt kind of, I don't know. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? I guess it doesn't hurt it any, but
maybe they're just doing that so the swordsman can see how far behind or ahead the archer is getting.
Yeah, that could be. That's possibly true. So yeah, overall impressions of Battle Quest?
I think it's a winner.
Yep. All right, it's good. Next up was Luigi's Ghost Mansion, which actually is probably the game that's most similar. Well, first off, it's actually similar to Animal Crossing Sweet Day in its core concept, and that there's 5 players, 4 are trying to get away, and the 5th guy, 4 are playing on the TV, and the 5th guy is playing on the gamepad, and he is a ghost, and he's trying to capture the other 4. And the other 4 play as like variants on Luigi and Mario, and who are the other 2? Like Wario and I don't remember. Anyways, and this game is, again, very similar to Pac-Man Versus, but it's probably even more similar to Pac-Man Versus than... Actually, no, take that back. It's not, because each player... No, it's not. It's about on par with it. It's very similar in concept.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's different about this from Animal Crossing Sweet Day is that it takes place on one map. So the screen doesn't move at all on the TV. Everyone plays on the same field, and you can see where each player is at the same time. And it really comes down to using teamwork to avoid the ghost. Did you want to explain a little bit more about how... Because other players can't see where the ghost is at all, most of the time, whereas the ghost can see where everyone is, so...
Yeah, at the beginning the ghost begins in the middle, then you just see him disappear, and from there he goes off to try to sneak up behind people to basically attack them and make them faint. And there's a mechanic, though, that the people with their flashlights, if their flashlights aren't on all the time, there's a battery for the flashlight power. So they try to go near the ghost, use a flashlight. You can feel... You play with the Wiimote, so it vibrates when you're close to the ghost, so you have an idea when he's near. So that's the idea. You say, hey, my controller's vibrating near the top right, get over here, guys.
And it vibrates stronger the closer the ghost is.
Yeah. But then if you maybe get close to the ghost, he can run away with a dash, but he'll be visible for a short amount of time.
Right, so it's a constant... It's a constant, like, risk versus... Well, I don't know if it's risk versus reward, but, like, as a ghost, like, you're trying to get close, but then you know they're gonna know... Then you know they know you're getting close. And so you kind of want to try to fake them out by like, going next to them against being on the opposite side of a wall. So they know you're there, but they might think you're closer than you really are.
Yeah.
And they can kind of sneak around and get behind them. And then you have to be careful that, if they flash your light on you, you get stunned for several seconds, and you have a set health meter. And if the light shines on you too many times, you're dead.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're the players, if the ghost catches you, you have a few seconds to take him away, and if no one's trying to lie on you, the player passes out.
Yeah.
And you have to get all 4 people down. But if someone else comes along and shines a light on the player for maybe 10-20 seconds, they can revive them. So, yeah, it's very interesting in that the game's really based on teamwork. Like, you really have to work together well in order to get the ghost, I think, as the players.
Well, due to the E3 environment, not being with friends, the ghost was winning for the most part when I played at the very beginning of E3 because he would go after stragglers. I found it best to try to stay in a group of 2. And also, he would sort of take advantage of people's humanity, trying to save someone. And as they're trying to save them, you come up behind them as a ghost and get them too. So it's sort of just like a trap you're setting up.
Yeah, the game was, I thought it was really a lot of fun. What did you think of it?
I think that, yeah, definitely #1, or at least tied for #1 for best Nintendo Land game.
Yeah, I thought the graphics were actually pretty strong too, even though they were basic, but like the lighting was really good.
Oh yeah, it's definitely just like Luigi's Mansion in terms of lighting.
Yeah, even I think the music too, like, is very reminiscent of Luigi's Mansion, which is good because it's based on Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
And only thing I noticed about the graphics is that on the game, when you're playing on the gamepad as a ghost, I remember it looking really blurry. Did you notice that at all? Like, it almost looked like it was zoomed in on without like upping the resolution, so it looked blurry to me.
Oh, I didn't notice that yet.
Yeah, minor thing, but it did seem that way. Any other thoughts on Luigi's Mansion, Ghost Mansion?
Basically, since Ghost was winning in the games I was playing, when you're down to the last survivor going around, they will give like a super flashlight upgrade that's more powerful to try to start taking back the ghost or reviving your teammates faster.
That's right, I did see that. And that thing is frightening because the default flashlight range is maybe a character and a half in front of them.
About that.
What?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, and then the super flashlight or whatever, it's like probably double that, I think.
And its radius gets bigger as a result,
right,
too.
so it's actually a little bit like Metal Gear Solid. Like, it's kind of like, you know, when they have the flashlight on, it's like you want to avoid being caught in that beam. Yeah, so... yeah, that game was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. What do you think of it in comparison to Animal Crossing Sweet Day? Because they're both very similar.
I did enjoy Luigi's Mansion more, even though it's only a single screen.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I really like Animal Crossing as well, but I think Luigi's Mansion takes it for me. Alright, and then the final game we played is Takamara's Ninja Castle. And in this game, it's basically based on a demo, or not even a demo, but on a video Nintendo had in their demo last year, the Wii U, in that you tilt the gamepad to the side. It's one player. Tilt the gamepad to the side, and you aim it at the TV, and then you get tilted around to adjust where you aim on the TV. There's a little crosshair that shows you, and you're trying to shoot ninjas. And in order to shoot them, and you're not even shooting them. You're tossing ninja stars at them.
You're flinging them.
You're flinging them, right? And you do that by running your fingers along the gamepad's touchscreen, as if you're like flinging a ninja star from it to the TV. I thought it worked really well, like super responsive, and the faster you throw it, the faster it goes on the screen, and it was really cool. Like, it actually felt like you're like flicking this ninja stars like out into the game world.
Yeah, it did have a good feeling for that, and the Nintendo representative told me that index finger works the best instead of 2 fingers.
Oh, really?
I was trying to do 2 fingers at first. And they do let you switch the gamepad to let you turn around for what way feels better.
For like left-handers.
Yeah, but since they had a giant cord attached to it at E3, so you couldn't just wander off the gamepad, who would do that?
Yeah, but, right, seriously.
I just tried it one way, and you definitely have to fling the stars faster to guys in the distance. And so when you do fling it faster, the gamepad does shake more, unless you maybe have a grip of steel. So it gets far harder to be more accurate and keep a combo going. So it starts off just 1 for hitting a guy, but every guy you hit in succession after that, it adds up, and I had up to +10 at one point.
That's right. So yeah, it's kind of. I think it's similar to Wii Play Motion, the shooting game, in that, or even
We Fit Soccer, for instance, dodging them in a row.
Yeah, exactly. So you get combos where. So you don't want to do rapid fire. It's all about precision, really.
Yeah.
And there's different ninjas that come along. Some that attack you, and when they get close, you have to like slash them with a sword, which you do with the same motion.
Yeah.
Just by swiping along the screen. And I thought the game actually looked quite good. It had a very like a cart, like it almost looked like they were like cut out. You know what I mean? Like they're like cardboard cutouts almost. And
I think it kind of looked like flat origami.
Yeah,
that's the way to put it.
I think that's what it looked like. And the environments had a similar look, I believe. It was just very eye-catching, I thought. I mean, not amazing, but I thought it was a good look for the game. Yeah, do you have any other thoughts on that one?
My only gripe with the title is that the star they show on the gamepad doesn't move when you play it.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit disappointing. Actually, that reminds me of two things. Well, one other thing. Yeah, I agree. On the gamepad, it shows you a touch star, and when you flick it, it doesn't actually move on the touchscreen. I think it would be really cool if you actually saw it like fling along with your finger and like fly into the TV, which is exactly what they showed last year in the video. And I thought it was a little bit disappointing. So I don't know if they want the hardware resources to draw the second screen, which I think they should, considering other games we saw were more graphically impressive. And also, I thought in the demo last year we saw the person flicking the stars. If she adjusted how she flicked them, like if she swiped it to the right or left, the star would actually fly in that direction, whereas in this, that didn't affect it at all.
Oh, you can curve them.
Yeah, you can curve them, right. And in this one, it was just, they simply went where your reticule was.
And also, you couldn't really tilt the gamepad to maybe have one going more vertical.
Oh, did you try that?
I sort of was trying it, but I didn't see it happen. Did you see it happen?
I didn't see it happen, but I didn't try it either, so.
That would be very handy against a ninja with a sword later on. He blocks all your stars until he gets up close and you hit him with the sword. So if he was blocking it one way, it'd be nice to be able to get him on the other side with the star at an angle.
Now, do you have any thoughts on, now we didn't play it, but do you have any thoughts on the overall game world that they showed off briefly at E3, and actually at a developer conference, which I went to the following night, or no, I think it was that same night actually. God, E3 is a big blur to me. Where they showed off the game, the World Hub, basically Nintendo Land itself, which connects the 12 games. Do you have any thoughts on that, like on how that looked?
Don't you mean they showed it off for about half their press conference?
That's true. It did seem that way, didn't it?
It certainly felt that way. Yep. It looks super happy. It's got a train for some reason.
That takes you around a super small circumference.
I think I'll care more when it's actually my friends, me's in there.
Right.
But at a press conference, I'm thinking, why are you showing me this? And it wasn't playable on the show floor, so...
Well, yeah, that's actually something which I think we'll dive more into. I think we're going to do a general E3 talk as well. But I thought the presentation for Nintendo Land was pretty poor.
Yeah.
But I think we'll address that more later. So, final Nintendo Land thoughts, Tom. What would you say? I guess first off, what would you say? What's your hierarchy of games? The 5 games you played. Which ones are your favorite, and which ones are your least favorite? Here's the list if you want to see them.
All right. Number 5. Donkey Kong's Crash Course.
Good. Even though you didn't play it, you should. Yeah, that's fair.
This is going to be tough from here on out. I'll say... Number 4, Animal Crossing Sweep Day.
Wow.
Just because I probably played that one the least. Maybe if I played it more,
right,
I like it. Number 3, Legend of Zelda Battle Quest.
Okay.
And I guess number 2, which is going to be the key one, because it's going to be obvious what my number 1 is, Takamara's Ninja Castle. So number 1, Luigi.
Yep, I think that's gonna be pretty. Well, maybe not terribly similar to mine. Real quick, so why was Luigi's your favorite?
Brought back memories of Luigi's Mansion.
Hell yeah!
I could see my friends screaming or yelling with being attacked by the ghost. Just having a really good time with that game.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think my order would be Donkey Kong, definitely 5th. I really did not enjoy that game. I had like that was the first game I played. I'm like, this did not give a good first impression of Nintendo Land. I would probably go with probably Takamara's Ninja Castle for 4, I think. Number 3, Battle Quest, I think. Number 2, Animal Crossing Sweet Day, and then number 1, I think I gotta go with Luigi. But I actually really enjoyed Animal Crossing as well. I thought both were fun. Like the more I played of Animal Crossing, the more I grew to like it. Same thing with Luigi's Mansion. I thought it was really slow paced at first, and I really grew to like it though. I thought the pacing worked out really well.
Yeah.
Alright, well that wraps up our Nintendo Land talk. Join us for, we'll have more podcasts coming up or more discussions for the other games we saw at E3, so make sure to check them out.
See you guys.